what are the inspirations you can have to generate a research idea and how to convert that research idea, how to translate that research idea into an answerable research question. If you have an answerable research question, then you can begin your research journey. And we see in a nutshell what are the essential skills that are required to conduct research. And for each of these essential skills, I think the organizers and the scientific committee and Hingoli sir has kept each session for each of these essential skills. So I hope that at the end of this conference, you will have some idea about all these essential skills and you will inculcate majority of these skills. So, what exactly is research? I will not go to the definition of research. Research in Rancho's language. So, what is research? Research is anything that generates new knowledge and which is conducted or generated through specific method. So, it is nothing that you have found something accidentally. This is not research. Research is something which generates new knowledge and which is generated through specific that is research. What is the difference between discovery, research, invention and innovation? So, what is the difference? Can anybody tell me what is the exact difference? What is the difference between discovery and research? What is discovery? That's perfect. So, discovery is something which already exists, which is there in the nature, but which is identified or observed and come to the surface. That is discovery. So, for example, mold kills bacteria. It is there, that is the fact. But it is identified, that is discovered. What is research? Once something is discovered, then through scientific methods, we will study the properties of whatever found out, that is research. So once it has been identified that mold kills bacteria, now what is there in that mold? What is the antibacterial properties, antibacterial spectrum, and what are the doses? To find out the doses of penicillin, what we do, that is research. What is invention? Invention is something that we create, which is tangible, which we can see, a drug, or a method, or a machine. That is invention. And what is innovation? Innovation is something which is added on invention. So invention will create something tangible, which we can look at, which we can see. That is invention, and the something which will improve upon that invention is innovation. So in this conference, we just focus on research. So research is nothing but something that generates new knowledge and which is conducted by scientific methods, which is predefined. So this is research. Now, how to start research? This is the question mostly undergraduate and postgraduate students they ask. How can I start? At what stage I should start? And what is the starting point? How to kick start it? Because research starts with only one thing, that is curiosity. Curiosity to find answer to a question. If you have some question in your mind and you want to find out the answer to that question, do research. Adopt some scientific methods and try to find out answer to that question. Or if there is some problem and you want to find out solution for that problem, you can conduct research. If you identify there is a gap in the existing knowledge, you can conduct research to bridge that gap. So, and you can improve with conduct research. And I will advise you one thing, always keep these 6 loyal friends with you. These are the 6 loyal friends for anybody, not for researcher, but anybody who wants to have common sense. These 6 loyal friends are why, where, who, how, when, and what. For any situation, ask these questions to yourself. Why this is happening? Where this is happening? What might be the reasons? Who is responsible? What are the factors responsible? How can I control this? How can I treat this? So, these are the 6 loyal friends. If you have these 6 loyal friends, and if you use these 6 loyal friends in a better way, then you are a good researcher. So, these various ways by which you can generate research idea. I will give some specific examples. You know how warfarin is discovered, or how warfarin is came into existence? I will do how an unexpected event turned into something which is very important. What happened in 1920s in Northern America and Canada? Cattle were dying from severe internal bleeding. Cows, they were dying from severe internal bleeding, and the local farmers, they have identified that this spoiled sweet clover pig, which it is covered, why they are covered, which is so that white sweet clover pig the cows were eating was responsible. Whenever the cows were eating that spoiled hay, they were dying because of internal bleeding or because of any minor procedure such as deworming. So now it happened for many years, and one farmer brought a dead cow with that hay to the University of Wisconsin and Medicine, and there they studied that hay, spoiled hay, and they identified the natural compound called coumarin. Now, what they have identified is coumarin is converted to dicoumarin, which is causing the bleeding, and then warfarin was discovered, which is derived from dicoumarin. So, this unexpected event or unexplained cow deaths led to discovery of this. Another example. You know how sildenafil was it came into existence? Actually, this drug was used to treat angina and hypertension. But whenever this drug was given for treatment of angina and hypertension, an unexpected side effect was noticed, improved erectile function, and then it was repurposed for the erectile dysfunction. So, whenever you are doing any practice, if you are seeing any side effect, don't label that drug as bad. You can have research idea to use that drug in some other condition. So keep that thinking or critical thinking habit in mind. You know how this iproniazid was means initially it was used for the treatment of tuberculosis. But whenever patients were taking this drug, they were taking this drug tuberculosis patient, and then this drug was repurposed for as antidepressant. So these are just examples where an unexpected event or unexpected side effect can generate research idea. I'll use some examples where the ingenious practices converted into research. You know how aspirin is derived? Actually, in South America, the bark of willow tree was used for the treatment of burns as a painkiller, and then salicylic acid, salicylate, and acetyl salicylate was extracted from the bark of willow tree. So, since centuries, this willow bark was used for the treatment of as a painkiller. This is one example. Don't ignore what your ancestors are telling you. This cinchona tree bark was used in the treatment of fever, and later on, quinine was extracted from that. You know how artemisinin was derived? Actually, this has generated Nobel Prize, and it is not derived, means it is not discovered by a doctor. But in China, Nobel laureate called Tu Yu, she discovered it, and how she discovered? She went in tribal parts of China, and she identified that in tribal parts of China there is one tree which is used in the treatment of intermittent fever, classical hallmark of malaria. And then she worked on it and she extracted arteries. She got Nobel Prize for that. So whatever your ancestors are telling, don't ignore it, either prove or disprove. This is one way where you can conduct research. So, unsolved problems. This is the classical example. Indian scientist, we must be proud of him. He identified prazosin in the treatment of scorpion bite. How he has identified it? He just studied the symptom. He looked at the symptoms with open eye. He thought, and when he examined all the symptoms, studied all the symptoms, he identified it maybe because of catecholamines, increased levels of catecholamines, and then he use alpha blocker, prazosin, in the treatment. Nobody has told the person. Only he studied the symptoms, identified what might be the reason, he asked what, he used what, and then he asked what can be done. And he used prazosin, and this prazosin has saved so many lives. Keen observations. You know the story of penicillin. Only because of keen observation, penicillin was derived. You know what Semmelweis has done? He is called as who has saved a lot of millions of mothers. So, this is a means good story. What he has observed, there were two wards, maternity wards. One was looked by gynecologist doctors, and one ward was looked by midwives. But the mortality rate in doctor wards was triple than the mortality rate in the midwives. Then he thought, why it is happening? Then he identified the doctors were coming directly from autopsy and they are handling the patients. And before the identification of the germ theory, he proposed to wash their hands and which reduce the maternal mortality in the wards. So that's why he is called as the savior of mothers. So just keen observation has led to discovery, means identification of the cause of maternal mortality. Smallpox vaccine. I did not go in detail. Each one of us know what are the details of this. How keen observation led to the discovery of smallpox vaccine. And the social need, your passion. If you are having any passion in particular area, then you can do study here. You can identify gap in existing knowledge or any problem. You can conduct research in that area. So, in a nutshell, how to generate research idea? So, look for any unexpected outcome, then ask why it is happening, identify possible factors, explore them. Don't ignore traditional practices, have keen observation, identify any problem, identify gap in existing knowledge, and ask yourself and keep all these 6 points with you. Now, there are some common myths about research. One myth is research is only for genius persons. No, research is for a person who has critical thinking, who has curiosity, and who has common sense. Anybody, a person having these 3 traits can do research. You need sophisticated labs. No research means most of the research can be done either in community or in the hospitals. Sophisticated labs are not required. It is too time consuming. No, it is not time consuming. It depends on your research question and your methodology. Some research can be finished in months, some research can take years. But it depends on your research question. Not all research questions take too long time. Only for MD, PhD aspirants. Is it correct or wrong? It is mandatory for them. For teachers also it is mandatory if you want promotion. but it is not like that. Research is mandatory for somebody and it is voluntary for all of us. So it is not something that is worth for us, but if it is from your heart, it will get good results. Next myth is I'm not good at statistics. How many of you are good at statistics? Very good. My friends, they are like this is good at statistics. Anybody? Okay. Now see, statistics is one of the easiest area. It is unsaid. But yes, if you do not learn it, you may feel it bad. But there are statisticians to help you out. So only because you think that I am not good at statistics, you should not run away from research. Statistics is one of the skills that you should have or may have to conduct research. But statisticians are there. I am not gaining any benefit. So if you want to conduct research for your personal benefit, keep it up. Don't do research. Not that. But definitely, you are also gaining some benefit. Society is also gaining some benefit. Students are also getting some benefit, patients are also getting benefit. So these are all myths. So don't have these myths interfere in your research decision. And just I will highlight the research cycle. So research starts with idea, and now I told this idea has to be converted into some analytical research question, then literature review, then select design, and I will not read all these because for each of these skills there is a session in this conference. So I'm just giving what you are learning, the idea about what you are learning in this conference. So first I have told you how to generate research idea. Now we'll see how to convert that research idea into the research question. And because most of the participants or many of the participants are students, I will start with simplest of example. How to convert research idea into a question. Simplest example. So suppose you observe that students are more attentive and interactive during morning lectures compared to post-lunch lectures. It's known fact. But you observe this, that you want to conduct research on this. This can be also research area. So any problem. So it's not like that you must conduct research for patients also. Academic research can also be there. But I am giving very simplest example to understand you how to convert idea into research question. So what might be your question? Sorry, I will just pause this and I will continue after the evaluation. Right. Respected directors and the he'll enter in the hall at any moment.
A very good morning and welcome to our distinguished guests, eminent scientists and young students. I request speakers on the stage. Dr. Sachin Umre. I request speakers on the dais. Dr. Yogesh Bharuti sir, Dr. Sachin Umre sir. Thank you, sir. and welcome. It is our proud privilege to welcome here our guest of honor, respected District Magistrate Mr. Rahul Gupta sir, an IAS officer known for his integrity, dedication, and research-oriented administration. Sir's remarkable initiatives in development and welfare have brought significant positive change in the district Hingoli. We are grateful and privileged that Sir has spared his valuable time to inaugurate our National Research Conference on Protocol Designing and Extramural Funding Opportunities, which is also known as RESEARCHCON 2026. To formally inaugurate this significant event and to grace the dais for the sacred moment, we have been blessed with the presence of Honorable District Magistrate of Hingoli as our chief guest, Mr. Rahul Gupta sir. Respected Dean of Government Medical College and organizing chairperson of this conference, Dr. Shri Chakradhar Mungal sir. Respected Director of Dr. Hedewar Smruti Rudra Seva Mandal's Dental College and Hospital, Dr. Hansraj Khurana sir. Our respected guest speaker, Dr. Sachin Kumar sir. Respected guest speaker, Dr. Yogesh Bahurti sir. And last but not the least, organizing secretary of this conference and deputy dean of our government medical college and hospital, including Dr. Rajharsh Thank you. As we gathered here to embark on this auspicious occasion, we follow our tradition that signifies and triumph of knowledge over ignorance and wisdom over darkness. We are about to light the lamp of enlightenment. I request all the dignitaries to light the ceremonial lamp and symbolically inaugurate this conference.
म्युझिक लाईट सरस्वती वंदन आणि म्युझिक सरस्वती वंदन आणि म्युझिक
Hello.
त्यांचा आवाज सोडला तर त्यांचा आवाज सोडला माझा.
मॅडम बोलायला ते आता लॅपटॉप लॅपटॉप त्यांचा जे समोर जायला प्रेझेंटेशन स्क्रीनवर टाकवा मी.
हो तर त्यांनी लावलंच नाही ना. नाही नाही मला दिसते नाही ते लॅपटॉप आहे त्यांचं. आपल्याला अप्रुव्हल करावं लागतं.
I request dignitaries to take the seats and dice. We start the felicitation of our guests and dignitaries on dice. I request Dr. Shri Chakradhar Mungal sir to felicitate our chief guest, Honorable Collector of Hingoli, Mr. Rahul Gupta sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Anuja Deshmukh ma'am to felicitate our esteemed guest observer, sir. Now I request Dr. Sudha Karadkhedkar madam to felicitate our guest speaker. Now I request Dr. Ganesh Manurkar sir to felicitate our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Yogesh Bohrupi sir.
एकदम लास्ट पाठवू का डबल.
नंबर हो होतो आता लगेच पाठवतो. तुमचं बफरिंग व्हायला सर नेटवर्क पण लिंक हा चालू आहे. हे आणलं ना कनेक्शन आणलं ना. सर लॅपटॉप ऑपरेटर नाही आहे का तिथे लॅपटॉप ऑपरेटर नाही आहे लावलं नाही त्यांनी.
Now I request Dr. Rajmohan and Harsh Hamante sir to felicitate Dr. Hansraj Khurana sir. Sir is professor in pediatrics department and the director of Dr. Hedgewar Smruti Rugna Seva Mandal's Dental College and Hospital. Hamante sir.
जॉईन होत ना. महेश काना डॉक्टर
I request Dr. Sachin Bodgire sir to felicitate our esteemed speaker, Dr. Vijay Gamble sir. Onkule sir is Associate Professor and Head of Community Medicine Department at GMC. Now I request Dr. Gopal Kadam sir to felicitate our speaker, Dr. Satish Vadde sir. Kanchan Agarwal madam, sir, ma'am, please take a seat on time. I request Dr. Sudha Karan Khedkar madam. I request Dr. Anuja Deshmukh ma'am to felicitate Dr. Kanchan Agarwal madam. Dr. Kanchan Agarwal madam has come here as a guest observer from Maharashtra Medical Council. Madam has 25 years of practice experience as a renowned gynecologist. Madam is the founder president of FOGSI, that is Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecological Society of India, Hingoli branch. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. I give mic to my colleague, Dr. Ashwin. Thank you, ma'am.
The dream of natives of Hingoli came true on the eve of Marathwada Mukti Sangram Day, that is on 17th September 2023. The decision to establish Government Medical College at Hingoli was taken in the cabinet meeting held at Chhatrapati Sambhaji Nagar. Government resolution for the same was passed on 1st November 2023. To fulfill this decision, Dr. Chakradhar Mungal sir was appointed as the first dean on 21st November 2023. Martin Romansky says, a visionary leader is someone who can see the big picture and has the ability to inspire and guide others towards a shared vision. Proving this saying true, under the visionary leadership and inspirational guidance of Dr. Shri Chakradhar Mungal sir, NMC gave norms to start first MBBS batch on 3rd October 2024. Today, our Government Medical College Hingoli team consists of more than 200 clinical, paraclinical and non-clinical staff. In April 2025, we merged with Hingoli District Hospital and became Government Medical College and Hospital. We have achieved 91% result of our first MBBS batch. We have started a unique initiative of conducting weekly on Saturdays MCQ-based exam. The difficulty level of this exam is equivalent to NEET exam, and we are the first government medical college in Maharashtra to conduct such exam. With Dean's vision, constant guidance, dedication, and consistency, we were able to achieve a huge increase in average number of surgeries and IPD. We have raised the average number of major surgeries from 315 to 1788. The average IPD number was raised from 23,368 to 26,509. We have been able to start many surgeries in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Surgery, ENT, namely hysterectomy, laparotomy, functional endoscopic sinus surgeries, and vocal cord surgeries. We have started in-house nearly all the blood investigations, including thyroid profile test, fine needle aspiration cytology, and biopsy. We have also started culture and sensitivity of pus discharge and KOH mount of fungal infection in microbiology department. We have also achieved 24/7 availability of specialist doctors, clinical training of second MBBS students, interns, and postgraduates in the span of just 6 months. And today, we are one of the fastest developing government medical colleges among the other new government medical colleges in Maharashtra. As we all know that research is an integral part of medical education worldwide, the pioneering medical research involves revolutionary discoveries and innovations, from several historical milestones to modern revolutions such as mRNA technology, CRISPR gene editing, and integrating technologies like AI. The healthcare system across India also has witnessed a phenomenal change during the past few decades. Now, I would like to invite on stage our Chief Organizer of ResearchCon 2026, respected Dean Sir Dr. Chakrathar Mughal Sir, to enlighten us on the briefing of the conference. Dr. Shri Chakrathar Mughal Sir.
Dignitaries of the Bangladesh, Honorable Collector, Sri Rahul Gupta sir, our Maharashtra Medical Council Observer, Dr. Kanchan Agarwal madam, our esteemed speaker, Dr. Sachin Mumre sir, Dr. Yogesh Murthy sir, Director of the Central College, Khurana sir, our Deputy Anand sir, my colleagues and dear students. Now, as Adra Madam said, on 3rd October of 2024, there was NMC gave the nod, NMC gave the letter of permission for this college. And we are only the second year, our second batch has of 100 students has been admitted. Now, from the October 24 to this 26 years, we have achieved a lot, but it's a field of research. I was always thinking that awareness about the research, I came to know about the research in my post-graduation, but at least my students should know it, and importance of research and awareness of the research, it should come in the undergraduation only. That was the only purpose to conduct this research conference at our college. And I can proudly say that such kind of first national conference will be conducted in the Hingoli district. So I am such kind of conference. I am thankful to all my colleagues, faculties, and all my students. Thank you.
Thank you for enlightening and thought-provoking request. Your words have truly set the tone for this conference, sir, and inspired us to pursue research with dedication, ethics, and excellence. We are grateful for your continuous support in promoting academic growth and research culture in our institution. Now I would like to invite on stage Honorable Collector Sir, Mr. Rahul Gupta Sir, to enlighten us with his graceful words. Sir has led the launching of Varshan Veer initiative, which provides 24/7 library access to rural students in 31 Jilla Parishad schools of Maharashtra. Let us give a big round of applause.
Thank you, madam. All, all the members of respective BIAS, all students, all faculty, all teachers, and all the staff that has helped in this conference. This conference, I think, first time in Hingoli such a conference is being taken up.
And I think such conference should be a regular thing. And I congratulate the team of Government Medical College to take up such a conference. I think medical college is not just about educating or creating students for further practice. I think medical college gives a very distinct scenario in which students can also do research. I think I'm also an engineer, so when we used to study, we also used to compete for jobs. We also used to compete for some research purposes. But in our batch, out of 120 students, my my batch of 120 students, only 1% might have gone to research purpose. Others have gone into various types of jobs. But I think research is a very important activity. Whosoever who is keen to study more needs to go into research. And various research initiatives only help in discovery of various types of treatment. So, for example, in the morning only I was looking at a research that is going on human pattern baldness. So, two new drugs are, I think, coming up in which if you take that drug, so baldness will reverse. So, in such a scenario, I think the research only has made up this far, and I think such a research should also happen in Hingoli, but not only related to baldness, but also because we have a dedicated dental college. So, cutting edge problems that are existing in medical field. So, for example, till now, no one has been able to find out cure for cancer. No one has been able to find out cure for various other diseases, Alzheimer's. So such diseases need to be tackled. I think many doctors, many students are working on such diseases, and they are trying to find a curable. They are trying to find a cure so that such type of diseases are able to be eliminated. If there is a vaccine, if there is a capsule that a consumer can take and can reverse any type of disease, that is the only, I think, point of research that should be done. And because we have a dedicated dental college and now we have a dedicated government medical college, so at least one or two students, if they only focus on such type of research, we will be able to find a good breakthrough. And I congratulate all the students of the second batch of the government medical college. I think you should not worry about the new medical college, the way it is a new medical college and you will not be able to uh, perform through. I think I am a product of IIT Ropar, and I was the first batch where we didn't have a campus also. Like you, we were also staying in a temporary campus, and out of 120 students, we currently, I think, now IIT Ropar has taken up 16 odd batches, and out of those, I think we are the most successful in our first batch. You just need to have a right guidance in all the students, and you just need to have a proper direction where you have to go. And I think you will perform very well. Don't worry about the campus, only worry about the faculty and only worry about the facilities that are being provided and how to use those resources and how to use those facilities so that you can do something in your life. I again congratulate the respected dais, the respected speakers, the students, the teachers. Everyone has made this conference a hit, and further wishes, best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir said, excellence is a continuous process and not an accident. Sir's talk truly reflects the spirit of excellence.
Now we have a 10th and 12th exam, so we have to make it cheating free.
Thank you, sir.
मला नेटचा अजून इश्यू आहे का झाला सॉल्व
हा हा सॉल्व झाला.
लिंक अजून ते बॅक का आहे एवढी
हा एक 10 सेकंद लेट
10 सेकंद खूप लेट झाली
लाईव्ह जाणं सर तुम्ही इथं लाईव्ह जाणं.
लाईव्हला क्लिक केलं मी बघा तरी
नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लेम आहे मोबाईलचा, इथे मोबाईलचा प्रॉब्लेम आहे.
कधीच आहे
Honorable District Collector Shri Rahul Gupta sir, Honorable Dr. Shri Chakradhar Mughal sir, esteemed speakers Dr. Bhanuti sir, Sachin Gupta sir, Dr. Duple sir, and Dr. Vatte sir, and MNC observer Dr. Agarwal madam, dear faculty members and dear students. It gives me the immense pleasure to be here as an organizing secretary to welcome you all on the first national research conference on protocol defining extramural funding opportunities. So, I welcome you all for this first national conference. So, today's gathering, it reflects our shared commitment to the advancing research excellence through the scientific rigor, innovation, collaborative funding initiative. Research actually is the backbone of academic as well as scientific progress. However, impactful research doesn't begin always in the laboratory. So it begins with a well-designed protocol. A strong protocol is not merely a document, it is a roadmap that ensures the clarity of our objectives, the methodological precision, ethical integrity, and the feasibility. So it transforms an idea into the structured scientific inquiry which is capable of generating meaningful and reproducible outcome. Research is a much needed topic, but unfortunately it is quietly neglected. So the thought to organize the research conference and that to be at the place like the Hingoli, it is itself a big achievement. So I really congratulate our respected team who organized this conference, and I'm thankful on behalf of all organizing committee for our team to become for providing the opportunity to become a part of this research conference. In today's competitive research ecosystem, designing a scientifically sound protocol is only a part of the journey. Securing external funding has become equally critical. This conference has been thoughtfully designed to address both these dimensions. Through expert lectures, panel discussion, interactive workshop, participants will gain the insight into the research protocol and extramural funding opportunity. We are privileged to have Indian speakers, experienced investigators. Their guidance will definitely empower the young researchers and the faculty members to translate their innovative ideas into the funded research projects. I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to our respected chief guest speaker, MNC observer, emeritus observer, session chair, and delegate for gracing these chairs with their presence. My sincere thanks to the institutional leadership for their unwavering support and encouragement. I also extend my appreciation to all organizing committee members, sponsors, volunteers, whose dedication and meticulous planning have made this event possible. A special thanks to Dr. Hansraj Bharara sir for providing this dental college venue for the conference. I also thankful to Dr. Babu sir and all other staff of the dental college for their constant support and their timely help. I strongly encourage all participants to engage actively, ask various questions, build collaboration, and make the most of this academic platform. Let this conference ignite new ideas, foster interdisciplinary partnership, and strengthen our research culture. With these few words, I once again welcome you all and wish the conference for a great success. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your generous words and kind acknowledgement. The success of this innovation is truly a reflection of the unwavering support from our administration and the dedication of our entire organizing team. We remain committed to upholding the academic standards and vision of our institution. Thank you for your continued motivation. Thank you, our respected dignitaries, guests, and all the delegates. With due permission of organizing chairpersons, now I conclude our inauguration functions. As the flames rise, so does our hope for wisdom and prosperity. May this light guide us all.
Now, I request Dr. Sachin Mugre sir to continue his remaining talk. Sir, please, sir, hand over to you first. Sorry, sir.
Hold on.
Sir, cable. Sir, cable. व्ह्यू करा ना व्ह्यू करा म्हणा व्ह्यू करा या पाकळा दाब या पाकळा दाब
YouTube live.
Okay, let us start.
तो इश्यू आहे तो मोबाईलचा दाखवतो ना सांगा
On the exact slide where we are paused. Now, this is the simplest example I am giving, and I am telling you how to convert the idea into research question. So, and if you observe that the students seem more attentive, more interactive during morning sessions, and you want to explore this possible research question. Whether morning lectures better than afternoon lectures. This is one research area. How can you convert this idea into a research question? Let us see. Now there are few components of a good research question, and these components are they depend on type of study you are taking, and I think Dr. Yogesh sir will tell you in detail about these components. I will give examples which are used for the experimental design, where you want where you conduct experiments. Now, this is one example. This is PICO framework. There are so many frameworks, and I will leave the details to Yogesh sir because that is his domain. Because the entry in your domain, sir, just I will give example. So, how to convert this idea? Are morning lectures better than afternoon lectures? But for whom? The effect of morning lectures for postgraduate students may be different than for undergraduate students. For faculty, it may be different. In corporate sector, there is no other alternative. They will have they must be attentive, be it post-session or after. So the effect will be different for undergraduate students, postgraduate students. So you will have to define the population for whom your research question is applicable. So here we have to add population to this research question, and we can expand this research question like this. Are morning lectures better than afternoon lectures for undergraduate medical students? So I have defined the population here. Now the PICO, P for stands for population, I intervention, C comparator. So intervention is here. Which is the intervention here? Changing timing, lecture timings. Comparator means it is an internal comparison, morning versus afternoon. And outcome, what is the outcome you are studying? Whether morning lectures are better in which outcome? Whether it is improved attendance, whether it is improved retention, what is being taught, whether it is any other thing. So you have to specify the outcome here. So we can specify the outcome like the better academic performance. This is the outcome we want. We don't want the outcome as improved attendance. You can have any other outcome. So you have to specify these things. So this is the way you can convert research idea into a answerable research question. So this is research, good research question. Are morning lectures compared to afternoon lectures result in better academic performance among undergraduate medical students? So it has all four components: population, intervention, comparator, and outcome. Now, if it is not feasible to do this for whole term or whole year and then see academic performance, you can convert your research question short term. You can conduct this research for 14 days and then do the research. So it is up to you. So you can do like this. Instead of doing it for whole year, if it is not feasible, you can convert it into short-term retention among undergraduate medical students. So PICO and final, these are the two terms you must remember while converting idea into answerable research question. Final will be the same for all research question. What is final? It is your research question must be feasible. You cannot do research for 10 years. And it must be feasible with available resources. It must be interesting. It must be novel. It must be ethical, and it must be relevant. I'm going fast just because all these points are covered by Yogesh sir. Now, once the research question is defined, you must have the skills to convert that research question into answered objectives. I will also not go in details of that because this part is also covered by. Okay, okay. So, how to convert this research question in answered objectives? Very simple. Now your research question is the but sir is covering this, so I'm skipping this also. So you must have this, you must know what are the essential skills that are required. Number one skill is to generate idea. Number two skill is to convert that idea into answerable research question. Number three is once research question is there, you must be able to convert that research question into answered objectives, and then you must be able to define the hypothesis. So you must know all these things. These are essential skills that you require. Sir will cover in detail all about this. Then next skill is literature review. I think there is a separate session on literature review. So how to do review of literature? What is known till date? It's not as if you are googling or Gemini. So you have to have some essential skills to find out what is available in the literature. So there are various websites such as PubMed, Google Scholar. I think in the relevant sessions all these details will be taught. So next essential skills is to conduct literature review and the study design. I think there is a separate topic on this. After literature review, you must be able to identify the study design. And the most important thing, protocol writing. Now why I am telling this most important thing? Because it's the blueprint and this is most important for your funding. You have to submit your protocol to the funding agencies, and this conference is focused for the funding. So you must learn how to write protocol which is relevant for the funding agencies. And the funding agencies will have their own priorities. So your research question, your everything should match their priorities. So you have to learn, you have to inculcate that skill to match your research question to the priority of the funding agency, and these are the components of the protocol. And not again go in details of that because there is a separate session on protocol. In that session, I will be taking all these details, what will be by title, how it should be, abstract, introduction, everything I will take in detail in that session. And ethics approval. Unless until you have any research must have ethics approval. And I think again we will have separate session on ethics, how to get the approval from institutional ethics committee. I think your institutional ethics committee is already registered with CDSCO. So you must get the approval before you apply for it. So you must know how to get the approval of the ethics committee. Just refer the SOPs of the ethics committee and follow that SOPs. And this is most important. Seek grant. Once everything is ready, now apply for grant. And there are many granting agencies. LVHS has so many schemes. LVHS gives short SPRG grant, LTRG grant, impact, so many grants. There are separate sessions on this, how to apply for these grants. ICMR also gives so many grants. DBT, DSP, these departments, central government departments, they give grant. We are taking separate sessions how to apply for these grant, what are the grant opportunities available, college grant. So your college can also give some grant for the research projects. Now data collection, you must have the skill to collect the data. Again, the separate session will be taken on this and analysis. You must know how to conduct the analysis of collected data. There are so many softwares available. SPSS, DRSM.in, this is the website which is freely available. You can even use Excel. So using Excel, you can do most of the data analysis can be done in Excel also. If you know all these formulas, it's very easy. If you don't know, use Google or use Gemini or use ChatGPT will tell you out which formula is given for that. It's very easy. And that is ethical also, no problem. And this is the most important and essential last skill, manuscript writing. And how to write the finding, right from the title, abstract, introduction, methodology, results, references, etc., etc. You should know. You must have all the skills to write down in a proper way what you have studied, how you have studied, what your methodology, what are your results, and what in the discussion, what are your recommendations. So you must know how to write this. What are the common beginner mistakes? Choosing a topic that is too broad. You must have focused topic. You cannot have daily kurto, not possible. You will not do anything. You should have focused single research question and then only your research will be successful. Research question not good. If research question is not good, if you are doing experimental study and it does not have four components, your research will not be successful or your aims will be something different, objective will be something, result will be something different. Okay, ignoring literature review, poor referencing, procrastination, overconfidence after reading one article. That is one common beginner mistake. Just take what's the yes, we go for it. Okay, you can do it. Have that confidence. Don't go for overconfidence. And finally, the researcher's survival kit. What is the survival kit? You must keep these three C's: curiosity, critical thinking, and common sense. When you are in trouble, go for coffee or something you like tea only. Okay. Have patience. Keep notebook. Write down everything that you are observing. Especially don't ignore the side effects, untoward incidences, unexpected, because they are the trigger for next research. Backup of your backup, unless you want to do and avoid real final version to like this so many, because at the end you will not know which will be the actual final version and have sense of humor. So in summary, keen observation and critical thinking will generate a research idea, and these are the essential skills. You must be able to convert idea into research question, choose correct design, right protocol, obtain IEC approval, obtain funds, collect and analyze data, the right manuscript, and choose a journal, right journal for the publication. These are the essential skills which are required. So this is the keynote. Generate idea. Always keep these 6 loyal friends with you. Why, where, who, when, what, and how, and use them in all the situations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your thought-provoking address set a perfect platform for our speakers to deliver their presentations. One more point on which I wish to give an emphasis on. If you have heard of curriculum vitae of sir, none of the committee where sir has not worked. There is no such committee in MUHS where Dr. Bombay sir has not worked. And one more thing is that if MUHS has any problem, Dr. Bombay sir has a solution. So, giving a big round of applause for Dr. Bombay sir, because we are such fortunate that you have here for this keynote address, sir. You can say he's a pillar of MUHS. आणि मराठीत सांगायचं तर चालतं बोलतं विद्यापीठ आहे सर. Now I request Dr. Mangesh Tehre sir and Dr. Gopal Kadam sir to felicitate Dr. Sachin Mugre, sir. Please. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. Vilas Musre, sir, to felicitate Dr. Gopal Kadam, sir, and Arun Nagarik, sir, to felicitate Dr. Mangesh Terry, sir. Dr. Taki, sir, Maruti Taki, sir, please felicitate Dr. Mangesh Terry, sir.
lucid presentation, and it was a very nice learning session. So what we loved about the presentation was that W. Very first day, my professor has put a very big W on the blackboard, and he has taught us we should be learning that alphabet W. The second important thing what he taught was about the traditional way.
पहिली बंद
Now I understand why Dr. Ellis has allotted that
इथं पाहिजे लॅपटॉप वर
1800 babies.
ते पहिलं बंद कर
Very nice. We have a
मी नाही काय केलं पहिलं बंद कर तुला बंद कर काय हे आता काय लावायचं
Thank you, sir. Now the session is open for the questions. If you have any questions, you can ask.
पहिली जे चालू आहे ना ते बंद कर हे PDF चालू आहे काय म्हणतात नाही बंद कर बंद लॅपटॉप आणा
Yes, sir. You have a question? Sir, your talk today did not just team is divided. Thank you so much.
जेव्हा आपण काही लावायचं असेल तर हे बंद करावं लागतं क्लिअर छान ते बॅकग्राऊंडला पुढे राहते ही PDF ती बॅक करावं
We'll continue with our next session.
सर पहिले बंद करा ना सर हॅलो
Next plenary session we are going to start. Swami Vivekananda once wisely said, take up one idea, make that one idea your life, think of it, dream of it, and just leave every other ideas alone. Let us start this conference, this session with our first plenary session. Our first speaker of the day is someone who has made this field. He is known for his insightful ideas and ability to connect with people. Let us give a round of applause to Dr. Yogesh Bhavupti, who will share his thoughts from idea to research question, a step-by-step guide. I would also like to invite Dr. Shivshankar Jodgir sir and Dr. Vishal Manka sir to chair this session. I would like to invite Dr. Narayan Valerao sir and Dr. Nishant Manka sir to chair this session.
आलाय गेलाय हनुमान कसं इकडे येईन
I wish to introduce Dr. Yogesh Bhavupti sir. At present, he is an additional professor at AIIMS Nagpur. Sir's major contribution is in the field of epidemiology, vaccine and immunization, and One Health. Sir has published nearly 170 research articles in national and international senior research. He has won 9 awards in the Emergency Epidemiologist Award and Epidemiology Foundation of India, Dr. Chandrakant Patil Award for Community Work, Doctor's Day Award, and the Best Teacher Award. Very much. Respected chairperson for the session, thank you for and at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to interact with you all. I hope I am audible to you all. Thank you. Uh, one thing would be, I am not a prolific speaker like Sachin sir is, so I try to keep it as simple as possible. And you are free to ask any questions in between. I don't mind that if you disturb me. Because I have been teaching with these students for last almost 10 to 12 years. So if I know by around 30 minutes your attention span will be less and you will start fidgeting with your mobile phone. So before you fidget with your mobile phone, you can ask a question so that your attention span can be again brought back to the discussion. So there were two things which I was told yesterday when the respected dean sir. One was to tell others what are the funding opportunities, to tell everyone which are the different funding opportunities. And this is the topic which is assigned to me. That from ideas to research, question, and a step-by-step plan. Now my job is done very easy by my previous speaker, Mumare for an idea. So I start with question, what is an idea? If I go by the definition, it is some thought or suggestion which is going to lead to a possible action. This is Oxford Dictionary. This is what idea means. That it is some thought or some suggestion which would be leading to some action. So as a medical professional, where do we have to use these ideas? Like in Marathi we often say, गरज ही शोधाची जननी आहे. So necessity is the mother of invention. Can I ask a counter question? Then who's the father? So I'll put it in this manner. And if necessity is the mother of invention, then idea or problem is father of reason. Unless and until we do not identify any problem, be the problem in our day-to-day activity, be the problem which sir has quoted, like retention in morning classes is better than retention in post-lunch classes. It's a problem. And most of these problems or finding solutions to these problems is nothing but doing the research. This is, according to me, is the simplest way of putting research. Finding solution to our problem. Now, being in medical field, our problems should be related to the patient. The problems will be related to how do we teach to our students. Problem should be communicating with the patient. The possible problem being told the patient that this medicine has to be taken this many times a day. Patient is not adhering, not compliant to the medication. Or as the guest has, the Honorable DM of Hingoli has said, that medical colleges are pinnacle of research for identifying treatment option for something unsolved clinical condition like baldness. So this is what research is all about. Finding solution to some problem. Now how do we get to know the problem? That is where the source of our research idea will have. So since most of our audience are UG students, could you please tell me where can we get these ideas from? You can speak in Hindi, Marathi, Tamil also I can speak. So whichever language you are comfortable, I would be glad to listen to you. I know it's a plenary session, but still, if you could give me some info, it would be great. कहाँ से आते ideas कहाँ से आते? From curiosity. So ma'am had said from curiosity. Exactly. So ideas can come from anywhere, anything. So that is what my second point was. The source of research, it can be anything.
Like the example of Isaac Newton. Sitting below a tree, apple fell down, and he thought, why did it fall down only? Why didn't it go up? So one source of idea is observation, isn't it? We observe something, and then we think, okay, so this is what has happened. Then those W or those six honest men who should be with us always. That's a saying by Rudyard Kipling. And I hope you know who's Rudyard Kipling. Yes, the famous writer of the Jungle Book, Mowgli. This is his quote. I have six honest men who keep serving me. What, when, where, how, why, and when. So basically, if we try to find the answer for any idea, we are doing the research in simple terms. Now, theme of this conference is getting funds. So it means just getting a thought or just getting an idea is not enough. Your idea should be such that it should be funded by the funding agency. So those funding agencies, they usually look at your ideas and your competence. It's not like you have written a very good proposal, very nice proposal, flawless. You have used ChatGPT, Gemini, all resources. You wrote a very flawless proposal. Despite that, funding agency will reject your proposal. One of the reasons is competence of the PR, and that is what is lacking. So coming back to the topic, so the research questions come from various sources, like our routine activity, as Ma'am said, anything. It's just observation. Maybe you read some research paper or read something in a newspaper, and then you get an idea why this is happening. Why this has happened in particular area. Why only a particular set of symptoms are seen with a particular set of patients. So that is something which we read. So literature doesn't only mean research or scholarly article. It can be newspaper. It can be even a discussion between our colleagues. So they may just tell us, ये ऐसा हो रहा है, वैसा हो रहा है, मुझे लगता है ये क्यों हो रहा है, ये अभी तक समझ में नहीं आया. Maybe that is a research question. Use that opportunity, develop it into a research question, that idea. So discussion. And then always think whether all research or all ideas, whether they are researchable or not. Sachin sir has given an acronym in his presentation, FINER. FINER. Feasible, innovative, or interesting, novel, ethical, and relevant. I will be talking about this with some examples. So always think whether your idea is researchable or not. So you need to test your ideas on those FINER criteria. That's the criteria for testing your idea. Now, why do we conduct research? I think I have already covered finding solution for the problem. So this is an art of scientific investigation. And what the thing which we do in research is we have to prove something. Like we did in school. We say LHS is equal to RHS, hence prove. Something same we'll have to do. We have to hypothesize a situation. ये इससे related हो सकता है, इससे ज़्यादा हो सकता है, कम हो सकता है. And then show, and then prove whether this hypothesis is correct or wrong. So if you go into like our colloquial Marathi, it literally translates into बाप दाखवण्याचे श्राद्ध कर. It is research question. If you have a research question, you should be able to either prove it or disprove it. And to prove or disprove it, you need to learn the art of scientific investigation. So that you say that whatever research question you have developed into a protocol is tested in a correct manner, in a correct method, and in a correct way. That is what research is all about. So, this also I have covered from like health professional what kind of research we do. So we can do lab research, basic fundamental research like prevalence of something, Why, what is the percentage of hypertensive taking medications regularly? It's a basic research. Or we can do epidemiological research. We can have applied research or something called as translational research, something which is developed in a lab and now tested in the over the patient bedside. So that is translational research. We can do social science research like operational research, accident research. Social science research is nothing but certain things which you cannot quantify. Right? Happiness. Can you measure happiness? I am 40% happy and 60% unhappy at the same time. So there are certain things which are difficult to quantify. Even those things we can get in the research. So that is what we call as action research. And again there is a broad classification of qualitative and quantitative. So these topics will be dealt gradually in the subsequent sessions. I'll stick to my topic. That is from idea to research question. So this is what the first step, observation. Keen observation will give you a lot of ideas. That observation can be your patient record. That observation could be talking to the patient. Observation could be discussion with your colleagues, your peers, and that observation could be some gap in the literature. So it can be anything. And another point is never ever be judgmental. Like even Sir was mentioning that. If our forefathers have told us something, we should not just say, no, that's an old science, that's a pattern. No, that's not pattern. Maybe we are not able to prove it in the current scientific manner. So that is one issue. Like I can put up a broad question that if a crow sits on this palm tree, will the palm fruit fall? What is your opinion? Is this a good question? Or it's some idiotic question? So I will still say it's a research question. But I need to test it on my criteria, final criteria. So this slide I'll skip because this is already covered. Those 6 honest men. But whenever you conduct or whenever you plan a research, always think of at what cost. So at what cost is the cost to the institute and cost to the society. मतलब आपको ऐसा रिसर्च नहीं करना है जिसमें आपका आउटपुट 5% होगा और जिसके लिए आपके 20 or 30% resources लगते हैं. So it is better always look at the cost, how useful that research will be. Any other points are there if you want to add? Audiences, I mean, not from teachers to the students. Otherwise, you make a lot of noise in classes. So this is researchable idea. So always your idea should be something which is not explored or for which there is no definitive answer. तभी वो research question में convert हो जाए. For something if you have a known answer, then there is no point in conducting a research. That is possible. So we should have that scholarly attitude or a continuous pursuit of finding answer for a question. But if you know the question and the answer both, then there is no point in doing this. Then gradually narrow down your research idea, like that broad one, overweight had altitude. Now I may funnel it down, narrow it down, and convert it into a research question, for which we need a strong review of literature. We have a session on conducting review of literature, and review of literature, conducting review of literature itself is an art. Most of the databases which we would be using for review of literature, they have their own language. It's not a search engine like Google. Google में कुछ भी डालो, it will give you some answer. But the scholarly databases, they have their own language, and we need to use language in their terms. So we need to learn it. So any research question or any idea, whether it's researchable or not, the first thing is do a thorough literature search. First thing, which is most essential, most important. Second, finding the gaps in knowledge, which you often call as KUM. known to unknown mapping. Something which is known from the literature, something based on that, we find something which is unknown. और वो unknown का आंसर ढूंढना is nothing but conducting the research. You get an idea of research even by doing review of literature. So now, once you identify the concept or an idea which is researchable, you need to define your problem. Now, when I say you need to define your problem, it means that problem should be relevant for your setting, for your society, and for your nation. So, if you look at the recent ongoing ICMR call for proposal on investigator-initiated research, they have already given thematic area. अगर आपका proposal इन areas में रहेगा, तो we will fund. इसका मतलब है कि these are the priorities at the national level. So always think whether your research idea is valid for the community in which you are serving. Then concentrate on one research question or one idea at one time. आज ये सूझा, कल वो सूझा, फिर वो like today I thought of something, tomorrow something, and then what I thought tomorrow I'll forget what I thought. That should not happen. Stick to one idea, follow that idea with passion, and convert it to operation. Always use operational verbs when you put up a question. This is important because the first step of writing the protocol is putting down the research question correctly. That is why we should use the correct verb, correct terminology, and connect your question to the possible actions to be taken. So that is your objectives. So आपका question आपके objective से link होने. What actions you would be taking. So now coming to the final criteria. This is already discussed in the previous session, but I'll be briefly talking about it. So final is an acronym, as I said. It stands for feasible, interesting, novel, ethical, and relevant. So you have a research question. Always think whether it is feasible for you to do this research or not. So you want to do a research on something which is very rare in your area. Like if I take example of Kala Azar. The cases of Kala Azar are very sporadic in Maharashtra. तो अगर आप काला आजार के लिए फंडेड प्रपोजल लिखोगे, it's not feasible. Funding agency will outrightly reject it. So you need to think of something which is feasible. That's one. Second, after feasible, do you or will you be able to do this research alone? Do you have the competence? So it's not only feasibility of the surrounding or setting. It is feasibility of the person who is doing the research. Do you have competence to do it? Suppose I want to conduct a research on artificial intelligence. I am a medical doctor. I have no idea from engineering. For which I need to use some codes, maybe some algorithms. I am doing one AI research. Not that I am not doing, but it is always a teamwork. So feasibility doesn't only mean it is your feasibility or settings feasibility. It also means your competence. So build a team accordingly. And in ICMR, when they review proposal, they are at 10 marks for competence of PIM's team, whether they would be pulled through this research or not. And that is one of the biggest factors. Competence कैसे दिखाते? We should have some publication in that topic. Should have some work which we would have done to show that yes, we are competent and confident to pull this research question. So that is feasibility. Next is interesting. So do research on something which you like, rather than doing the research. This most often happens with the postgraduate thesis. The student or PG at the end of 2 years will say, I was not interested, but my guide told me कि इसी पे तुम्हें करना है thesis. So if I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to your guide, because they have done research for last 10 years, 15 years, and they know what are the drawbacks. But you have been put through something like this, you can politely go and talk to your respective guys and tell them, sir, I want to work on this. So like my PG student always Ask them, you give me 10 research questions on which you want to work. And then each research question we discuss about feasibility and other aspects. And then we choose one among them. So lot of anyone PG student do this. So this is my personal experience. They come and they say, "Sir, आप बताओ क्या करना? हम तो अभी भी PG में admission है, we don't know anything." Give them some time. Ask them to talk to their senior. Ask them to read some journal articles. Give them some names of journal, and then ask them to come with some ideas on this. So that is what interesting. It should be interesting to you, and as well as to the funders. उनकी priority को होना चाहिए. Third is novel. So is this something new? क्योंकि फंडिंग के लिए something new होना जरूरी है. The most common source of funding for us in health profession is ICMR. And ICMR gives fund under 4 different headings. There are 4 Ds. First is discovery research. Second is delivery research. Third is descriptive research. And the fourth one is development research. Maximum 10% फंड से डिस्क्रिप्टिव रिसर्च को मिलता है. उनका कितना भी करोड़ का बजट रहे, but if you have a cross sectional study, case control study, cohort study, the chances of getting funds are very less. But for UG student, yes, you still have chances when you apply for ICMR streams. But the concept should be long. So this year, my students, I am quoting example of my own student, UG student who is doing research under me. उसका टॉपिक है willingness to pay for future dengue vaccine by urban population in Assam. We deliberately chose this topic because we were aware there are dengue vaccine trials going on in India. I was PI for one such trial by ICM. So it means 2 years, 3 years down the line, there would be a dengue vaccine. So now this is novel. I am putting this novelty to the ICMR. if ये वैक्सीन आता है तो लोग पे करने को विलिंग है क्या? अगर विलिंग है तो कितना पे करेंगे? क्या हेल्थ सिस्टम इसे फ्री में प्रोवाइड कर सकती है क्या? So always think of that novelty. I cannot just do a cap study कि हाँ आप डेंगू वैक्सीन लोगे नहीं लोगे. They won't fund you. So that is the next point in your research question. Whether it is novel. Novelty कैसे पता चलेगी? By doing a thorough review of it. By doing the KUM, known to unknown mapping. So that should always be done. Next is ethical. So this is something which we often call in research, that all research should be ethical in nature. They should not harm your patient. They should not harm your participants. So it is mandatory for all proposals to get ethical approval before you start data collection. So the ethics committees are there to help us to conduct ethical research. So think whether your research question is ethical. So suppose I am doing a clinical trial of a drug, assume an antihypertensive which is a proven drug, and there is a new drug for hypertension which is not yet proven. I am doing the trial. So if in one arm I say I am giving a new drug, और दूसरे arm को मैं control दे रहा हूँ, do you think it's an ethical research? Do you think it's an ethical research? No. Why? Because I am denying treatment to a hypertensive patient. So I am doing some harm to the patient by denying them treatment. मैं उनको control दे रहा हूँ या placebo दे रहा हूँ, but I am not giving them an active agent. That is the necessity of always testing your research question whether it's ethical or not. Should be doing this. And then finally relevant. Relevant का simple फंडा ये है that it should be a priority. Finding solution to this problem should be a priority. So if your question for answer to all this FI NER is yes for your research question, please put it down on a piece of paper and start working on it. Because that's a research question which can be converted into a proposal. Now, once you have noted down your research question, there is one more test which we often ask. That is called a so what test. So for every step, keep asking so what. If this is my research question, so what? Now you find out your research population, so what? So this is often called a so what test. Every time keep asking this question. अगर ऐसा हुआ तो क्या होगा? अगर मैं इस एज ग्रुप को लूंगा तो क्या होगा? इनको एक्सक्लूड करूंगा तो क्या होगा? इंक्लूजन एक्सक्लूजन क्राइटेरिया. So that is the next step of putting your research question into program. This portion is already dealt by Sachin sir, innovation. But my point in innovation here, which I wanted to stress upon, is by doing the review of literature, finding innovation through review of literature. So, does your research question or study is trying to shift the knowledge from known to unknown? And if you are achieving that, that is what the novelty or innovation in the research question. Second is the refinement or improvement are proposed in your research question. So what I mean by this, you have done the review of literature, you found out certain gaps. If your research question is trying to address those gaps, then that's the innovative research. Always try to figure out. So that is why I always say you should always start your research question but in the thorough literature. It serves you three purposes. First, it helps you to write your background of your introduction, including review of literature. क्या हुआ है, क्या नहीं हुआ है, क्या research किया. So you are done with your background and the rationale why you wanted to conduct this. So whenever you put up a research question, always put your research question through review of literature. Always do. Second, it guides you the scope of your research question. क्योंकि आपका पहले research question बहुत broad था, कौवा बैठेगा डाल टूटेगी, like that. But now it can tell me from review of literature कि 100 लोगों ने research किया है, and they found out कि अगर कौवे का वजन 250 ग्राम है, तभी डाल टूटेगी. So now I am refining my research question. That if the weight of the core is exceeding 250 grams, what happens with the branch of the? So that is the utility of doing the review of literature. So it helps you understand the background as well as scope of your research question. And third, it gives you idea about the depth in which you can go. How far you can go for this particular. Once you have done this, then comes the next step. Now you finalize your research. The first step you have done, you did a thorough review of literature, did everything, figured out, yes, this is something which is not done in past, something which is new, something which is innovative. This entire presentation is all about getting funding. Okay? So I am not saying that new names of research नहीं कर सकते. Cross-sections of these you can keep on conducting. But if you want fund, then this is essential. So research question converted into a novel question. Next step is share with your peers, the experts, the mentors. So maybe you can share to sir or ma'am or maybe your colleague, your co-PG. This is my research question. What do you feel? What do you think? Is this a good thing? It is always a good idea, other than putting it directly to the funder. क्योंकि फंडर आपसे बात नहीं कर सकता, वो आपका पेपर के बेस पे ही जज करेगा. लेकिन आपका फ्रेंड आपसे बात कर सकता है, डिस्कस कर सकता है. So your peer, your mentor can help you in refining your. Next is that one which sir was mentioning, PICO. So PICO is often used for, that is what, define measurable and exposure, measurable exposures and outcomes. So now you have to put your question under PICO format. So PICO is often used for trials. Okay. P stands for population. Sir has already covered that. I stands for intervention. C stands for comparator. And O stands for outcome. So put your research question under this. When you write this PICO framework, it becomes easy for you to write title of your research question. Okay, so suppose I take an example: population hypertensive intervention is novel drug, comparator is known drug, outcome is reduction in systolic blood pressure. Now I can put up my title: efficacy of novel drug compared with standard of care for reduction in systolic blood pressure among hypertensive patients or randomized controlled trial. Isn't it easy? So RCT के लिए P2 होता है, observational studies, cohort and case control के लिए we have something called as PECO, PECO. That is population exposure, comparator and outcome. Cross-sectional study के लिए we have only PO, population and outcome, cross-section. इस population में हम ये measure करेंगे as cross-section. Diagnostic accuracy study, we have again PICO only, but I is not intervention here. I is your index test. अगर आप कोई नई स्क्रीनिंग टेस्ट को गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड के साथ कंपेयर कर रहे हो तो पॉपुलेशन, इंडेक्स टेस्ट, confirmatory test and outcome. So this framework helps you in putting your research question thoroughly, simultaneously framing the time. Next, once this is done, you may sharpen your research question and then specify your research question further by making it more specific. Like SIR case method. These many hours of classes in morning does improve the academic performance compared with those who attend classes in afternoon. So it is very specific. If it is drug, same thing does giving this much amount of drug reduces blood pressure or whatever by this much unit. That becomes more specific. So once you are done with this, what I want to find out. So we often do. We first explore, then we describe. Then these are the different types of research which we can do. We can just explore something, we can just describe something, we can find out association between two things, or we can make a comparison between two events. Comparison between two events, RCTs, case control study, cohort study, these are all comparisons. Only the context matters. And the last part would be, once this is done, now you have to narrow down your research. अभी आपने फाइनल कर लिया कि आप क्या करोगे? आप एक्सप्लोर करना चाहते हो, आप डिस्क्राइब करना चाहते हो, आप मेजर करना चाहते हो रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन टू इवेंट्स, or you want to make a comparison. Once you have done with this, now you narrow down. So that is what I started in the beginning. Choose simple question. Do not choose more topics in one research. So now here you have to narrow. So use this funnel approach. Review of literature की आप और broad questions are. अब उसको gradually जैसे funnel होता है वैसे. So like the shape of a funnel, you make it very specific. So I am putting a question to you right now. How did you like the movie? What are your thoughts on it? Sorry, I have not taken research question like Sir. I thought since I would be interacting with young minds, I have taken a contemporary question. How did you like the movie? Is this a good research question? तुम लोग बोल सकते हो in front of your teachers. There is no restriction. No? You. Yes, you can speak, no issue. No. Speak in Marathi. I hope everyone understands Marathi. I because it is not specific. Okay, so he horrible. So and that is already covered by search. It's not specific. So how can I make it more specific? Yeah. Name of the movie. Very good. So that is first step of refining the research from broad to small. How did you like ABC movie? Is this the one? Only one? Can it be further refined? Yes, please. Which aspect of the movie, like the beginning, climax, or songs, action sequence? Very good. Further refinement is required. How were the acting skills of the actor and actresses in that particular ABC movie? That's it. मैं कहूँगा कि how was the morning show, matinee show, late night show? That is also a good thing. So just one small thing has ignited your mind. Just remember this. I just ask about movie, but I can also do assessment of the theater also. I can do assessment of the popcorn which is supplied there. I can do cost of those popcorn. Like in preview, one popcorn that cost 500. So individual like me from a middle class family cannot afford. So I can consider that as a research question. How many of moviegoers afforded the popcorn in the theater? That's a research question. So that is what I wanted to convey you. That anything which comes to your mind, if you put through different lenses, can fetch you a good research question, and you can make it more specific. Last two slides. One. Now, once you have framed your research question, always give to your peers. The very reason I put this slide here is, हमें ना हमेशा एक डर रहता है कि मेरा आइडिया कोई चुरा लेगा, but ऐसा नहीं होता है. Because if you put your idea to someone, maybe that person is a close associate with you. That person will help you to refine your idea or your research. And that is what I wanted to convey to you all. Always discuss with your guide, discuss with your peer. The benefit is it is cheap. You did not pay for it. 10 minute चाय पे बैठ सकते हो कैंटीन में डिस्कस करो. So 10 मिनट का आर्टिकल पढ़ना और 2 मिनट किसी से डिस्कस करना will give you much clarity about your research question. Second, when you discuss with your peer, it becomes more informative because they will be putting their own experiences into it to make it more refined. Secondly, it is effective because that is going to improve the quality and जसं म्हणतो ना निंदकाची दार असावी शेजारी. Let them critique it. Don't take it in negative manner. Let them critique and then improve upon those critiquing points. Critiquing doesn't mean only negative aspects. It is both strength and weakness. So always put your research question to your peers, to your guide, so that it would be helpful to you. So like in most of the institute, it is the common pattern that if they are applying for funding to any funding organization, they usually discuss or they have a presentation in the department before submission of the proposal. That is nothing but doing the peer assessment. And the last slide. This is for funders' perspective. Funders क्या देखते हैं आपके research question? So they look at the intellectual quality and merit of the question, whether this question is really worth funding for. That's one. Second, if answer to this is found, is this going to have some potential impact in practice, so in clinical practice, in management of patient or any other aspect? Third, is this novel? So this we have discussed for funding. Next, how is protocol written? So whether you have a very valid hypothesis, if it is so, are there evidences to support it? So that you have to again get to literature. Next is logical aims है क्या? मतलब आप जो objective put है जो research question है, is this logical? Whether the questions is put in a logical way so that you can get an answer. Next, whether it's appropriate, adequate, and feasible. So your material, methods, whichever are aligned with your research question, whether they are appropriate or not. Finally, the credential and experience of the investigator, which I have already told you. 10 marks are there. So अगर आप funding के लिए डाल रहे हो, always put someone who has publication in the field, who has done some research. So we applied for 1 year last year in ICMR. So we have researchers from veterinary college. We had researchers from other. 1 year is it's not only human health; it is animal health. So animal husbandry department, one person was there. We had one person from veterinary. So always work into team. And lastly, always check whether you have adequate facility to conduct the research. So with this, I'll just summarize that all your research studies should always start with a research question. A researchable idea converted into a research question. That should be the first thing. Second, the source of research question, as ma'am has very rightly said, can come from anywhere. Anywhere, anything. Third, put your research question under the final criteria. Test it in final. Last, put down your research question through the process of peer review. And always remember, the research question or even writing protocol, as sir has mentioned, is an iterative process. It is not your final. It's not Brahmavakya. It will keep on, repeatedly keep on changing. So it happens with research questions. So that was my like a talk on idea to research question step by step approach. And if there are any questions, I would be glad to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I came to know that that is the reason why Dr. Kohrupi sir has 170 research articles to his credit. Give a big round of applause. Students, maybe a standing ovation, himself standing ovation. Now I'm sure that after hearing your amazing speaker, you must have a lot of questions buzzing in your mind. It's time for a short question and answer session. Please.
So my question is, whenever we have an idea of research, so how do we decide the sample size that this research should be taken with this particular sample size? I mean, it cannot be any few number of patients or few number of people. So what is the required sample size to proceed to consider it as a research?
Thank you very much for your question. I would be really glad to answer this, but since there's a session on this, and I would be speaking on it, the essential components of protocol tomorrow for funding ICMR grants. So I would be covering this aspect in more detail. But I'll tell you one thing, in sample size, what usually the funders look for. You should not have too few and not too many. So always 2 or 3 things should be there in mind. Fix your primary objective and secondary objective. That's one. Second, calculate sample size for all your objectives. At least for all primary objectives, whichever is larger, that you should be taking. Third is, based on your study design, the manner or method of calculation sample size differs. It's not like one answer. Like most often, what we were taught when I was in my PG, I was taught, या फिर बोला जाता है कि 30-30 ले लो और हो जाएगा. But that is not the correct answer. Because if you go with 30-30 or with a fixed number, you will always end up with doing an underpowered research, which is not publishable. Even the funders will not fund. So for another, like we have Sachin Mumbai sir, he has an open source website which helps in sample size calculation. DRSM.in. It's open. You need not pay for it. So maybe if time permits, we or sir can demonstrate how sample size calculation is done for different studies. That's one. Second, ma'am, what usually happens when we calculate sample size, we just end up with that. But any study design, you will have to adjust your sample size for other, like if you are doing a cross-section study, you calculated a sample size, you have to adjust it for non-responsive. That's one. And second, If it is to in a finite population, we have to adjust your sample size for population size. So each study design has something to do with this. Similarly, if you are doing a case control study, cohort study, so case control study, you have to again adjust it for non-response. In case of cohort, you have to adjust it for attrition rate. If you are doing a clustered study, cluster or study which is on a large geographical area, so you have to adjust your sample size for design effect. So what we often do, similarly in RCT, calculate samples adjusted for, if it's a cluster randomized trial, you have to adjust it for ICC, intra-class cluster coefficient, and otherwise loss to effect. What mistake which I have often observed is people end up with whatever calculated, this is our final sample. You also always remember the sample size has to be adjusted for something which is going to happen in future. And detailed answer I can give you one as per study. Thank you.
It is said that in the world of ideas, we are all explorers, journeying through knowledge, becoming great door openers. With every step forward, we learn and we grow. Together, we shall shine and make the world glow. Thank you so much, sir. You have sparked new ideas that will surely guide future research. Now, it's time to felicitate. I request Dr. Narayan Bhalerao, sir, and Dr. Nishant Manka, sir, to felicitate Dr. Yogesh Bhaudbi, sir. Now I request Dr. Nishant Tekari, sir, to felicitate Dr. Narayan Bhalerao, sir, and Dr. Arun Nagrik, sir, to felicitate Dr. Nishant Manka, sir. Thank you, sir. Our chairpersons, Dr. Bhalerao, sir, and Manka, sir, needs to express few words, in few words. Mike.
What a presentation, sir. That was really good. Actually, every one of us has ideas, and they get vanished every day due to our systems which you have. And you have made it now very clear, like how should the ideas flow to make it a proper result or a proper research
किती जण लाईव्ह
We are very enlightened
आता
to
33 जण आहेत
and we
आणि
wish
450 व्ह्यू गेले आतापर्यंत. 450 व्ह्यू गेले आतापर्यंत आणि 33 जण आता कनेक्टेड व्ह्यू. हा आणि 33 जण ऑनलाईन येतात.
33.
हा
450 व्ह्यूज
म्हणजे पाहिले 450
लिंक ओपन केले.
Open.
450.
460 सर. केबल सर इथे उभे आहे.
Next speaker, Dr. Vijay Dongke, sir, to guide us on which study design to use a simple guide. I would like to invite Dr. Ganesh Manukar, sir, and Dr. Shakil Kasi, sir, on dais to chair this session.
बरं एकदा हे दिसायला का पाहिजे.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, chairpersons. Dr. Vijay Dongke, sir, at present is Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Community Medicine at GMC Hingoli. His major contributions is in biostatistics, epidemiology, and research methodology. He has 15 years of experience in the field of community medicine. He has achieved many awards, which include Vijay Narayan Award for Best Oral Paper presented at Annual International IAPSM Conference 2009. IAPSM Presidential Appreciation Award for contribution in IAPSM and good work in community medicine on 2nd February 2023, very recently. Please put your hands. Session winner for best paper, poster and paper presentation in the annual national IAPSM conference in 2024, recently. These are MPHS approved state faculty for research methodology workshops of affiliated institutions in Maharashtra. He was elected as executive governing council member of IAPSM for West Zone of India from 2016 to 17. That is Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Goa, Gujarat, Daman and Diu. He was also elected as Executive Governing Council member of IAPSM of Maharashtra in 2018. He has published 44 research articles in various national and international journals. Now, the mic is all yours, sir. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. After this two living beings lectures, I'm so worried what will favorite of my lecture because they are very serious, more efficient, and they both of have most of monitor skills. My course is now 100 so I will try my level best. Because this topic is so having many aspects because it is the core part of pedagogy. And from this research question from idea generation to the essential skills. Now, this is the topic about which study design. Just now, Madam asked the questions and Sir told about the study design, right? So, based on your research question, there will be the hypothesis generation, aims and objectives. Now coming to the what type of study design should you choose? Right? So this is the basic thing. So if you are detecting your sample from history, so what tool should you pick?
तिकडे पण बसलेले आहेत ना खाली.
So learning objectives for this session. At the end of this session, the participants will be able to understand what study designs are there, how many study designs are there, why they fit different questions. Then compare observational versus informational designs with real examples and apply this knowledge to learn to become the right design based on your research goal. And however, spot the common pitfalls in your projects. So these are some goals for this session. Because why study design matters? Whenever you see any recipe, that means what type of recipe you are going to choose. Okay, what are the ingredients are essential to prepare some recipe? That is most important. If you choose a recipe is good enough, outcome will be the very good. So study design is like choosing a recipe for your research cake. You are preparing for the cake. So if you are choosing a wrong recipe, there will be the bias. That means for your research question, aims and objectives, if the study design is the wrong study design, so that means ultimately the desired result will not be there. So based on the research question, your hypothesis, aims and objectives, selecting the right study design it is most important. So it will give the reliable, valid results and ethical answers that help the people. Because if the selecting the right study design, ultimately it will save your time. Because after the much taking efforts about the preparing the blueprinting of the research, then going to the ethical committee, and then getting the approval from the ethical committee, and after that, after some time, if you came to know that yes, that was a wrong study design, again we have to do further about from blueprinting, again ethical committee. So it will wastage of your time, also manpower, money, and again it will be a frustration because research is not by choice. Most of the time it is from by compulsion researchers are doing the research. So to avoid such type of wastage of time, manpower, or frustration, it is necessary to adopt a right strategy. So, quick poll for all of you about raise your hands if you heard the term RCT. Anyone? Anyone RCT about? Okay. Thumbs up if research gets scary right now after the 2-3 lectures also. If you think that research is very scary and so afraid about doing the research, please the palm if you are still excited to demystify.
today and tomorrow there will be the lectures about. Okay. So coming to the type of research questions. Okay. So Gaurav sir told about the research questions, type of research questions. So all research starts with what we are want to do. Because whenever there is an idea, there is a research questions, always gain the new knowledge from that idea, from that research question. So questions, if we categorize that research question into three parts, first one is descriptive. What is happening? Okay. So that means what is the problem in the community? What is the problem in the hospital? What is the problem in OPD? If are there very common patients are coming to my OPD? Are there the same type of complications I'm observing from a particular operative surgery? Right? So if these are some basic questions, descriptive type of question, you are just observing that patients, you are just observing the community and you are assessing the problem. Analytical type of questions, why? Why this is happening? Why the same kind of patients are coming? Is there any epidemic in the community? So that's why the same type of patients are like the same signs and symptoms and they are coming to the OPD. Right? How did it happen? Is there any kind of food poisoning was there and the same type of patients are coming to the OPD? So why? The answer for this extra question, that is why and how to solve this answer to these questions. So analytical type of research question. If the question is experimental type of, how does this cause that? So that means drug A is either cure to the disease A, right? So that means this particular drug is curable for that particular disease. Right? So match your question based on the research question. There is a need to pick up the right study design. So it is study design is like a key. If there is a lock to unlock that. So questions are your North Star descriptive. How common is smoking among the undergraduates? This is the question. Analytical type of questions. Does the smoking link to the lung cancer? Right? Experimental type of questions. Does the quitting smoking reduce the lung cancer chances? So these are the some type of questions. Now we will go one by one in the depth about the descriptive analytical and descriptive questions. The focus again same: who, what, where, when, and how. So general example, that is the how many undergraduates skip the breakfast. Okay, just a simple question. If there are 100 students, 200 students, and out of that 200 students, how many undergraduates skipping the breakfast today? So if just a how many out of 30 students, they are 30 divided by 200, they are skipping today. This is just a simple mathematics. Right? It is just a descriptive question. But if we go for the clinical twist in the OPD and OT and IPD, so what symptoms do flu patient, any other new disease like COVID, that was a new, it is a virgin disease for our land and we didn't know about what are the signs and symptoms, how it is the natural history of that disease, what are the complications, what is the treatment for that COVID, still we don't know. So, first of all, from the descriptive to the experimental, that is the from this was the journey of that COVID in times of research. So, first descriptive questions: what are the signs and symptoms of COVID in different patients who are infected with the COVID? So that is just a description. Then clinical twist, that is the either it is what are the risk factors they are causing the COVID. So what are the risk factors? Either it is if they are not using masks, they are in contact with the COVID patients, like these are the risk factors. Experimental, whether that remdesivir is useful in cure the COVID. So these are the questions. So from This is the research journey from that COVID to the end of that COVID pandemic. So design of family, that is the research question about it is the observational study. We are just observing that patients. So analytical type of question is association type of question. Whether A is linked with B or not, or B is linked with C. So general example, does the pollution link to the allergies? So congruous glass gives any kind of allergy. This is just a question. Is obesity tied to the diabetes? Whether diabetes is linked with obesity? There was another question about the obesity, about whether that virological etiology is associated with the obesity. This was also a research question. So there was a research on that such type of particular question. Running example that we have taken this same example for all type of research questions and for all types of study designs about smoking and lung cancer. So again we go to the smoking and lung cancer. Running example that does smoking lead to the lung cancer? This is analytic. We are going to associate it between the exposure. Exposure in here it is the smoking and there is a disease outcome, that is the lung cancer. So what are the goals by using this analytical type of question? Spot the patterns. Either what type of there is a linking. Is there any cause? Because it is not the goal in that analytical type of question. It is whether it is a cause effect model. So design of family, that is the eco observational study. Now experimental type of questions. So it is a causing effect. Whether that particular exposure, it is there was a first and after using or after the exposing that particular exposure factor, there will be the outcome, that is the disease. So by proving such type of, it is called as a temporal association. To find out and to prove that temporal association, experimental type of research question is needed. So general example, does the study music improves the focus? Because nowadays there is a distracted minds, they are using mobile phones more and more and there is a problem in the focusing in the studies. So if is the music therapy can improve the focus while studying. Right? This is the first is, that is the exposure is that there is a music therapy. Outcome, whether there is an increase in the concentration while studying. Right? So whether this music therapy will improve the concentration of focus while studying. Right? So there are the control, whether it is a controlled or not. So that means there is a RCT, randomized control trial. Within a family, that is the international power. So experimental, it is not like a very large result or change in one thing. So watch the results. Ethics first. So in that experimental study, ethical issues are very important. Now we will take a recap because both are told that adults have very short span of time. So we will take one recap about what we have just learned just now about the research questions. That first of all, you just write your research question and identify that research question, whether it is descriptive, analytical, or experimental, and then pick up the study design. Right. So now there is a basic difference between there are study design and then there are two types. One is observational study design and experimental study design. Basic difference between these two, observational study and experimental study. The first one is observational study. We are just observing the patients, observing the participants who are participating in the research. We are not doing anything. We are not doing any kind of experiment. We are not doing any kind of intervention. Right? Experimental study means we are intervening something. We are giving any drugs. We are giving any injectables. We are giving any kind of counseling therapy. So after doing this in the experimental study design, after intervening something, there will be the bodily change in the mechanism of that particular human being. Observational study means we are not changing anything. We are just observing. There is no bodily mechanism change in that particular human being. This is the basic difference between observational study and experimental study. So like this is a fly, we are just observing. We are not changing anything. We are just observing. We are noting down how it was flowing, right? What is the flight range of that fly, right? Where it is flying, okay? What are the breeding sources of that flies, right? It is just an observation and we are just noting it down, right? So, like being a fly on the wall in a nature, right? We are just observing that. This is the observational study. So researchers observe what happens naturally. What is the natural course of that fly? Right? We are not disturbing that fly, we are just observing. So likewise, in the community also, there are multiple problems are there. We are taking a survey, how to survey. Right? In the OPD also, we are observing the patients. We are noting it down. What are the problems of the patients who are coming to the OPD? Right? So it is a real life context, ethical for the rare events, who are rare diseases, where having ethical issues. Then can't control the variables and biases mixes. Biases means it is a systematic error, which is because bias cannot be totally eradicated from the study design. They are comes in the studies, but it can be eliminated. Because the students, I would like to tell that you can start with a simple observational studies. It will build up your confidence for doing the research. So most of the time, the most famous example about that study design, that is a case report. In the clinicians, among the clinicians, the case report is the most famous study design because whenever they find any rare case, and they note it down and they are observing, they are treating to the patients and they are publishing into the journals. So case report means a single patient story. Right? Single patient case report, one person having a unique story of that patient. Right? Any kind of story and which is not available in our routine current textbooks or the reference. Right? So they are noting it down and because one clinicians or most of the specialists they dive into the one patient's because it is a rare disease, a rare patient, rare symptoms are there, and it is needed to express our thoughts on that particular rare disease and rare symptoms to the others, medical professional to give the knowledge. Right? So, example is that describe the clinical features of a 45-year-old smoker who has the unusual lung tumor presentations. It is the it is fixed or it is proved fact that smoking causes lung cancer. It is proved fact. But if that lung cancer has an unusual presentation and it is new thing, and it has to be published or presented somewhere else, so that this is the case report. That is the single patient, same issue. And if more than one patient of same type of symptoms, same disease or same rare disease, and there are more than one patient, if there are 2 to 10 patients are there, so that means these patients altogether it is called as a case series. Right? So that means clinicians taking the notes of all these 10 patients or more than 10 or so, 10, 12 patients, and it is called the case series. Case report means single patient story, and case series means 2 to 10 patients are there. So this case report or case series, they will give birth to the hypothesis. Hypothesis means it is just a statement, it is a guess, and it has to be proved after the research. Now, case series flow, that is a spot unusual case, document details and groups in 2 to 10 similar. This is the case series. Now, cross-sectional study. Cross-sectional study, this that is the watermelon we are cutting from the half portions and we are observing that watermelon. It is a cross-section of a community and we are observing what is happening. Cross-sectional study, it is like a still picture, right? Because that population coming for a group photo, and we are taking a photo and we are observing that. But after that photo, all will be the dispersed because it is a dynamic population. So at the time of group photo, what was the details? So it is called as a cross-sectional study. So example of cross-sectional studies are also called as a prevalence study. Prevalence studies means prevalence means it is the calculation or it is the addition of old and new cases of a community. Right? It is a prevalence study. From that cross-sectional studies, prevalence can be estimated. So research question it is that they estimate the prevalence of smoking and screen for lung function in 500 adults aged 40 plus years. Right. So if you are estimating the prevalence of smoking. So it is what are the advantages of cross-sectional study? It is fast, it is cheap, because it shows the prevalence, because how common. And from this disadvantages we cannot go for the before after study for. So cross-sectional study it is a freeze frame photo of a moment and it shows the how common. Longitudinal studies means we are tracking the same patients, that a group of patients for years, for weeks also, for months, for even for years also we are tracking the same patients. We are observing the clinical signs and symptoms of the patients for more than one time. In the cross-sectional study, we are meeting at a one time to the patients. But in the longitudinal study, we are meeting to the patient more than one time. It is called a longitudinal study. Because what is the concept is that it is a repeated checks on the same group once or twice. Smoking objective, that is our running example, that monitor the changes in lung capacity and smoking habits in 200 adults over 3 years. So for 3 years, monitoring the changes of the lung capacity for one day, then after a week, after 2 weeks, or for months. So we are meeting to the patients for more than one time. It is a longitudinal study. What are the advantages of this? We are, because if you want to note it down about the trends, what are the trends are there? What are the changes within the individuals or with the individuals? But disadvantages dropouts, because some patients feel that my lung capacity is very less now, so I have to quit that smoking. So there will be the loss to follow up. They will quit that smoking and after quitting, he will not be the part of our study, right? And it is expensive because the researcher has to invest much time for getting to the patient. So cross-sectional study it is like a taking a photo, but longitudinal study it is like a movie. So after that pictures are coming, right? So third study design is that case control study. That looks very heavy. Okay. Is there any questions? Are you getting? सगळेजण हो म्हणतात प्रश्न विचारायला हरकत नाही. ओके ठीक आहे झोपू नका मोबाईल बघता जरा बघायला सांगू नका रिसर्च करायचं आपल्याला याच्यामध्ये केस कंट्रोल स्टडी. Case control study. Case means a individual with a disease. Right? Case control study. Okay. Case individual with disease it is called case. Individual without disease is called the control. Okay. See, for each study design there will be the one session. At least 40-minute session.
So I have to group together in 40-minute session. So I am just touching to the study designs. We are just introducing the study designs because for each study design, how to operate that study design in your research. So it will take a more time. So I am just introducing. So one after one slide, there will be the new concept. So please give your attention. A case control study. Case means individual with a disease. Control means individual without disease. So if you see that in the case control study, case means if in the same example about the smoking, and if you see that smoking and lung cancer, if you have taken these two things, that is the exposure smoking and lung cancer, it is the outcome. So for each study design, research question is changing. Right? Our objective changes, study design changes, but two things are same: smoking and lung cancer. So based on research questions, study design is changed. So for that, in the case, if there are the lung cancer patient, these are the cases. Right? In the first controls of patients or persons or individuals without lung cancer. Right? These are our controls. And we have to follow. We have to take a history, past history. What are the risk factors? Right? Some modifiable risk factors, some non-modifiable risk factors. We are asking about the same thing about whether you are a smoker or not, how many times, right? Which type of smoke, either weed, cigarette, chirp, right? So along with that smoking, any other addictions are there? Is there any industrial exposure for that? Right? Because also asbestos also causes the lung cancer. So that means there are many factors are there. There are incidences, those who are not smokers, still there is a lung cancer. So what are the reasons for that? So we are assessing the causes by studying cases and controls. So we are taking the past history in the case control study. It is called as a retrospective study design. Now outcome is appeared in the individuals. So these are the now patients, right? We are looking back to assessing the causes, right? So if we again come to the our research question, that is compare past smoking history between the 100 lung cancer patients, that are cases, and 100 healthy matched individuals, that is the control. So it is very cheap. Those who are rare diseases, because we cannot follow in the forward-looking study, but it is very easier in the case control study. We can study for the rare diseases. So this is the recap of the case control study. If you see that outcome cases that are the having a lung cancer disease controls of individual without lung cancer. And now again same questions to both cases and controls. Whether there was an exposure, past exposure, like smoking or any other. And then compare the odds after taking the history. So this backward arrow shows the hand efficient for the rarities like early lung cancer changes, or forward flows we will see later. Now cohort study. Another study design, that is a cohort study. Cohort means a group of persons with similar characteristics. Like those who have birth date in 1980, 1990. These are the birth cohorts. So in that year, those who have having a birth date in the 1980 or 1990 is a birth cohort. So that means a group of persons having similar characters. In those who are sitting in this hall, it is also a cohort group because they are here for learning the research. Okay, so not the mobile watching. So they are here to learn. It is a cohort because they are having a group of persons having similar characters, right? So this is the cohort group. So we are in that cohort study. Again, there are some healthy individuals are there. All are healthy. Right now, all are healthy individuals in the cohort study. So if we categorize in that healthy individuals, some are exposed to some exposure factor, right? So that means if you see that in the smokers group, they are exposed to the smoking. But right now, they don't have any kind of disease, either lung cancer or tuberculosis, any other asthma, COPD, they don't have. Right now, they don't have. They are apparently healthy individuals are there, but they are exposed to the smoking. Others are, they are not exposed to the smoking, but they are from the same cohort. In that cohort, if there are two groups, right, based on exposure factor, half of our people portion they are having a exposed to the smoking, and some remaining portion of the individuals they don't have the exposure. Now we are going forward. We are going forward. We are meeting to the cohort for more than one time for weeks, months together. We are checking, we are observing, we are noting it down the clinical symptoms. When there is an appearance of a disease, okay, so we are labeling it is now case. Okay, so it will take based on that exposure factor, and there will be the chance either 10 years, 20 years, there will be 30 years for appearance of the disease. So it is based on your research questions or based on your time, based on your manpower, based on your funding, you can continue your the cohort study. Okay. Whatever the scaling of your research, so you can continue. If there are some ethical, because in that cohort study also there are ethical issues are there. Because if you know that this particular exposure factor will be hazardous to that particular individual, if we know that still we are continuing for our research, it is also a ethical concern for other researchers. Okay. So it is necessary to give enough information to the participants who are taking part in the research. So if you see that smoking objective, follow 1,000 smokers versus 1,000 non-smokers over 10 years to assess the lung cancer. Right? For our research, they should go for smoking. It is not available. Okay, so it will show, what study will show the incidence. Incidence means only new cases, appearance of the new cases. In the prevalence, what we learned, that is the addition of old cases and new cases. But in the incidence means only new cases. Because if you see that in this exposure group, non-exposed group, apparently there is no case, there is no disease individuals, but after the few days, few months, few years, there will be the appearance of disease. So it is a new disease. So it is called as an incidence. Okay. So it is also called the forward-looking study. Now another study design, that is the ecological study. Ecology means it is the study of man and environment. Simple thing, right? Ecological study means, because if you see that the unit of study in cross-sectional study, case control study, cohort study, experimental study also, unit of study, that is the individual person. But in this ecological study, that unit of study is population, total population we are comparing. So that means example is that sale of edible oils. Sale of edible oils is very high, and there is an occurrence of CA breast high in that country, particular country. So they are linking between these two things, right? So sale of edible oil is very high, and there is a high in the CA breast, high incidence of CA breast. So they are linking between these two things. It is called as an ecological study, because the unit of study it is not the individual. Here is the population. Because population is at risk means person is not at risk in this study. So they are comparing the population, not the individuals. So if you see that smoking objective, that examine the correlation between the national smoking rates, like sale of that smoking objective, that is seen, and there is a lung cancer mortality across the 50 countries. So they are linking between these two things, right? So for every country, they have to give the reports of based on tobacco, based on smoking, what is the rate of that smoking rate, and what is the lung cancer mortality based on that mortality data. One can link between the two things. So these are very quick, but there is an equal fallacy because based on this results of this study design, ecological study design, so one cannot claim for the personal risk. The population is at the risk. Okay. Now again recap for the study design. For case report means, yes, anyone? Case report means single patient story, right? Unique any rare disease. That case series means the same kind of rare events, rare disease. If there are more than one patients are there, so it is called as a case series, right? Cross-sectional study means that is a snapshot of that community that we are meeting one time of that community individuals or patients, and it is useful for the estimating the prevalence. Longitudinal study means we are meeting to the patients more than one time. It is a forward-looking study. We are checking the patients or individuals for more than one time, and it is for the time lapse trends. So to assess the trends of the disease, longitudinal study can be used. Case control study is the backward-looking study.
Show is live.
Case means individual with disease, control means individual without disease, and then it is the backward-looking study. It is useful for the rare events because outcome is appeared first. Cohort study means it is a group of persons having similar characteristics. It is a forward-looking study because at the first beginning of the study, the individuals apparently healthy, but some are exposed, some are not exposed. But if we go for years together, there will be the appearance of the disease. So to estimate the incidence, cohort study can be used, and also longitudinal study can be used. And ecological study means it is the study of populations. We are comparing the populations. We are linking between the two things. Okay. Now interventional studies. I told you previously about the basic difference between the observational study and experimental study is that we are not touching to the patient in the observational study. But in the interventional study, we are doing something intervention, we are giving something to that patient or to that individuals, right? Even counseling sessions, behavioral therapy, music therapy, is also intervention. Because after doing that experiment, intervention, there will be the change in bodily mechanism of that individual. But in the observational study, we are still, we are just observing, right? So this is the basic difference. So interventional study designs are there, we are assigning some treatments. Okay. Some group we are assigning some treatments and some other groups we are assigning the old treatment. Right? So there are some ethical issues are there, but this is not the right time because now we are running out short on time. There is the lunch time. So it will show the cause effect proof. Okay, how? Because there is a disease, we are giving some treatment, and there will be either cure or not cure, right? So either it is cost effective, right? There is there is a new anti-hypertensive drug is there, and there is an old anti-hypertensive drug is there. So some group we are giving new anti-hypertensive drug, and we are assessing whether there is a drop in the blood pressure or not. Based on that, either it is the tablet form, injectable form, daily we have to take either weekly, at the morning time, evening time, dose. So that there are many things are there to we can assigning in that experimental study. So it is very costly. Ethically, it is hurdles are there, and loss to follow-ups are there. So this is the experimental study design. So there are two types mainly. That is the RCT randomized control trial, Another one is the non-randomized trials. Randomization is the key. There are types of randomization. There are block randomization, simple randomization are there. I'm not going to details about, but whenever there is a randomization, it is called as a randomized control trial. Okay, so we randomly assign because patient doesn't know either that patient is in treatment group or in a control group. Control means old treatment because now placebo it is have an ethical concern, so now placebo drugs are not given, right? So old treatment is given. That is recently updated whatever the old treatment is there, they are giving, right? For the control group. But in the treatment group, a new, that is the, we have to launch in the market. Before that, there is the some clinical trials are there. There are phases of clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, right? So we are randomly assigning that treatment either in the that patient doesn't know either in the treatment group or a control group. It is called as a blinding. Right? Blinding. That is called as a single blinding. If doctor doesn't also know along with patient, doctor is also unaware about that which patient will receive the which treatment, either treatment or control group. This is called as a double blinding. Right? If statistician is going to analyze the data, if he also doesn't know which patient follows which treatment group, it is called as a triple blind. So randomized control trials, blinding is most important, okay, because it will reduce the biases. Biases means the systematic error. Because that confounding factors are there in that whenever there is a confounding factor means that factor which is associated with the exposure and with the outcome also. Objective is that evaluate if the nicotine patches versus placebo during the smoking relapse rate in the 300 meters. So that means those who are meters are there. Some will receive the nicotine patches, some will receive any other old treatment is there. Forget about this, sorry about this placebo, what? So old treatment is there, that is recent development. And then we are going to follow that patient, right? For months together, whether there is a cure in that, that there is a helpful for the quitting the smoking or not, nicotine patches. This is so either out of this, even though they are using the nicotine patches, there will be the cure, there will be the no cure. Again, they will go for the smoke. But in the old treatment, any other drug is there and they are using, so they will successfully will quit the smoking from home. So this is the results are there. So it will minimize the confounding factors, and it is the strongest causal evidence because we know that who comes first. Okay. So this is the RCT flow because there is a very big RCT flow which is given in the PARCS textbooks or any other textbooks. So I have just collected only very simple things about whenever there is a samples, that means the individuals who are taking part in the study, that is called as a sample size, and after that sample size, randomize that sample size, right? Some will go into the treatment group, some will go into the control group, and then afterwards we are going to compare with both. Now, Cauchy means pseudo, right? Cauchy means pseudo. So, non-randomized trials are also called as a Cauchy experimental study designs, right? Because whenever there is a randomization is not possible, in that situation, non-randomized trials can be useful, and they will also give some fruitful results. Okay. So, concept is that intervention assigned but not fully random. Here also we will assign the random treatments, okay, something, but there is no randomization. So by school or by clinics, right? So there are some two schools are there in the city. So one school will receive some IFA tablet, and this other school will receive that. They will take whole treatment for anemia, and they will pass. It is not randomization. In that randomized, we are deliberately making separation. Here, there is no randomization. So method, it is not as before and after. Like this, before giving the new antihypertensive drug, what was the BP of that particular individual, and after giving the antihypertensive drug, what is whether there is a drop in that hypertension or not. Right? So it is also called as a before after study. This is called as a Housie experimental study. If we compare between these randomized trials and non-randomized trials, it is priority, it is a gold standard. Okay. If we see that there is a level of evidence, so whenever we have to change the policy, we have to prepare a new program, national health programs. First of all, they will take the help from the meta-analysis, systematic review. Okay. So after that, there is a level of evidence, there is a pyramid. So on the tip of that pyramid, there is a meta-analysis. And then afterwards, systematic review. And then afterwards, there is on the third rank, there is the RCT. So for that randomized controlled trials, these are the gold standards as compared to the non-randomized trials. So this randomization, it will give the strongest cause effect proof, and because blinding will be helpful in that RCT. In that Housie experimental study, it is the real one because most of the times, whenever there are the natural situations are there, like there is a river between the village. So on the north side, there are some houses are there. On the left side, on the south side, there are some houses. So between these are the naturally separated that village, and some treatment assigned group for this north side houses, another treatment group for the south side. But there is no randomization. There is no randomization. There is no fixed randomization. And then before after we can also think about it. So interventional recap about RCT, that is randomized controlled trial. Where the thumb for this first question, full exposure about that. Randomization, random, blind, then there is a causal king, that is the test with aids. All the experimental, that is the pseudo experiments are there. But these also having a policy impact. Either it is useful for this, does this work questions, because that particular drug will really effective or not. This will also give comparison table in observational and experimental. The question fit, descriptive type of question. Remember our three type of question: descriptive, analytical, experimental. Right? So in the observational study designs, descriptive type of question fits, analytical type of question fits. In the international, only experimental type of research question fits. Control level low, because in that observational study there are some nature rules are there. We are not deliberately assigning any type of randomization. We are not assigning any treatment. We are just observing. But in the interventional study, there is an assignment is there. So it is having a control level high. We can control that study. Strength in the observational studies, it is easier, cheaper, it is a real life. There are ethical issues are very less in the observational study, but in the interventional study, we have to establish the causal proof. So biases are very low, but they are very costly, artificial. Example, in the observational study design, cross-sectional study, longitudinal study, case control study, cohort study. In the interventional study designs, there are the RCT and Housie experimental study. So, summary for this our study design topic. If you see that, so did the investigator assign the exposure? First of all, exposure means consider about the smoking exposure. So if we are assigning any exposure, any treatment, if we are giving, right? If no, we are not giving. It's not working out. Okay. So did investigator assign the exposure? No, we are not giving any kind of exposure. So that means no observational study. So if we are comparing, if there is only one group, then it is go for the descriptive study. If there is a comparison group, if you see that there is no comparison group, only descriptive study design. If there are two groups are there, so that means it is an analytical study, analytical type. Two groups means, right? If I am studying a survey of a diabetes, so that means house survey I am going. Some are diabetic, some are not diabetic, right? There are two groups, right? Some are hypertensive, some are not hypertensive. Two groups. So it is an analytical study. Direction again, if exposure, so that okay, cross sectional study. At the time, exposure and outcomes are there. Household survey, there are exposed individuals are there are diabetes also there. So that means at the same time there is the exposure and outcome. So cross sectional study is there. If there is a diabetes and we are assigning or we are taking an interview of the why it happened, that means it is called as a case control study. So those who are having diabetes, those who don't have the diabetes, we are taking an interview of both the individuals' cases and controls. It is called the case control study. So cohort study, we are taking the obese individuals, first of all 1000, and we are looking forward, right? So those who are doing exercise, those who are not doing the exercise, right? So what will happen, right? So there is a cohort study. So whether there will be an appearance of diabetes or hypertension at the end or not. Because if you see that if there is a risk factor obesity, but at the end 10 years or 20 years, there will be the multiple diseases are there. It is not necessarily only diabetes will be there. There will be hypertension, there will be any other cardiovascular disease, right? But if you see that if we are lead investigator assign the exposure, if there is something we are assigning a treatment, so there is an experimental study. If that treatment is assigning or allocating randomly, then it is a randomized control trial. If there is a no random allocation, then it is called as a non-randomized control trial. Okay, this is the summary, and we will come to the end of this sessions about the. There are some pitfalls are there, so ignoring the question type. So don't ignore the question type. Most important, we have to give the respect to the research question, and based on that research question, we have to follow them. We have to identify the study design. Second thing, forgetting the confounders. So there are some hidden confounders are there. So like there is the one question about that if we are those who are smokers, there will be the chances of myocardial infarction, right? This is our hypothesis. We have to prove it by doing the research. But those who are smokers, they are also coffee drinkers. Coffee drinking will also cause the myocardial infarctions. If we are not controlling that coffee drinking in this situation, so ultimately it will not prove that whether only that smoking will cause the MI or not, because that coffee will act as a confounder here. We will again twist that question. Coffee drinking causes the myocardial infarction, but those who are coffee drinking, they are usually they are smokers. So that means if we are not controlling smoking here, it is not possible to estimate or establish the correlation between coffee drinking and myocardial infarction. So confounding factors are most essential to be taken into consideration while selecting the study design. And lastly, ethics and feasibility. Okay, because how much time is there, how many funds are there, how many manpower is there. So we have to take the ethical issues also, right? Because most of the times, whenever there is a complication of a particular drug, if there is a death, it is a complication of that. If we are taking, if we are going the randomized control trials in that situation, so we have to go for insurance. Okay, so we have to go in between also for the ethical issues to discuss with the institutional ethics committee. So there are also ethical issues are there, those who are dropping out from that particular study design, right? So there are dropouts are also there. So again, we have to take it into consideration. And lastly, is most of the times the question is that can I really do this as a student? Okay, because most of the time students, they don't have much time. They have to go from 9 to 5. But still, there is, if you find the time, there will be the time because Sundays, Saturdays, or after 5, you can go to the hospitals, you can conduct the studies. Very simple studies are there. You can go because this will build up your confidence among the students. Now, again, I'm from the CBME governance teacher, so there are some questions for this. So, if you can tell me, so what proportion of first MBBS students have anemia at the time of admission? What type of study design? Cross sectional? Okay, very good. Is prolonged screen time associated with sleep disturbances among second MBBS students? Is prolonged screen time with sleep disturbances among second MBBS? Board studies prepared for the temporary because see now there is no disease. Okay, as the screen time increases, there will be the disturbance in the sleep. Again, if we go for case control study, so if there is a disturbed sleep individuals are there, so we can assess whether screen time is associated or not. Okay. That will be retrospective board study. Yes, sir. There are 3 types of board studies are there. Prospective board study, retrospective board study, and so this is not. This is just is prolonged screen time. Those who have the prolonged screen time, whether there is an associated sleep disturbance or not. Okay, either way we can see. Third one, does a structured yoga program reduce the perceived stress level among first MBBS student during the exams? What's the experimentation? How's the experimentation? Thank you.
We welcome questions from audience, if any.
Sir, you have very nicely elaborated all the study designs, but still I have a question which commonly encounter while assessing the dissertation for PG students. So, what type of study design it is? We are very much confused about what type of study design it is. So, is it any mandatory criteria that a single study should have a single study design, or a single study should have multiple combination of the study design?
Sir, particularly it is based on research question, we have to pick up the study design. But in a one study, we can go for combination of studies, but it will increase the time, it will increase because it will more than if there are 2 to 3 objectives are there, right? So nowadays there are mixed methods approaches there. Some objectives are can be achieved by qualitative studies, some objectives are achieved by cross-sectional study only. But based one particular research question, there will be the single study design.
Single study design.
Single
If multiple objectives are there, then
multiple study designs. But sir, if you see that, if I am combining cross-sectional study with randomized control trial, so it will create a more chaos in the one study, right? So based on if your objectives, if you want to achieve the objective, that is goal of your research. So if it is a more than 2, 3, so if you are combining more than one study design in one dissertation, so it will increase more time. Okay. So mixed method approach is one of the recently very preferred study design is there. So that means some portion is achieved by qualitative study design and some portion is from cross-sectional study or any other study. Thank you so much.
You have explained very well on what type of study design and explain with some example also. My question is that when we read the literature, that which study is more reliable regarding patient finding and even also you have told that randomized control have more values. But regarding patient diagnosis point of view, symptoms, what type of study is more reliable?
Okay.
You believe it?
Yes. So, reliability about, because see, there is a pyramid, sir. I told you. So on the top, there are umbrella reviews are there. That means meta-analysis of meta-analysis. Then meta-analysis again. Second, there is systematic review. Then randomized control trials. Then non-randomized control trials. Then cohort study. Then case control study. Then cross-sectional study. Then case series and then case review. So this is the level of evidence. So based on that level of evidence, we can take the help by reading that literature. So we can assign the treatment to the patients. But if you see that if there is no meta-analysis available, so you can come less systematically. If systematic review is not available, then go for RCT. If RCT is not available, non-randomized trial. So you have to dig out more and more on that.
Very useful presentation, sir. Just one question I have. We have a lot of softwares in public health system, like hospital management information software, software. You have just a comment on artificial intelligence in study design. Artificial intelligence, today's world now.
So we have to take the help about the collecting the data. Okay, so there are many softwares are there. So there is a ready-made data is there. We can collect, but study design they are fixed one. Okay, we have to based on that research question. We have to pick up that study. So I don't think so. Okay, AI will help, or we have to take the help from the AI for picking up the study design. Okay, but even for the collection of data, we can use it for the softwares. Thank you, sir. Any more? From hall B, lecture hall A. If there are any questions, you can come over here. You can ask from there only. Anybody? Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It was indeed a great session. Your expertise and illuminated complex concepts with remarkable clarity. Thank you once again. I would like to give mic to Dr. Anusha Deshmukh, who is chairperson.
Sir, it was Shirevana. Very nice presentation, very nice PPT, sir. Our students are always to us. Can you share your PPT with us?
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Rajharsh Hanpante sir to felicitate our speaker, Dr. Vijay Domple sir. I also request chairperson to come on stage to felicitate the speaker. I request Anusha Deshmukh and Shakil Qazi sir to felicitate Domple sir. I request Dr. Ganesh Manurkar sir to felicitate Dr. Anusha Deshmukh.
Sachin Pagdiya sir to felicitate Shakil Kazi sir. Dr. Pagdiya sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Which study should I choose? A simple guide. This topic looked like a self-contradictory to me. Sir has answered it very well. Sir has a very humble start, but the slide of recipe gives us the hint of efficiency of the presentation. Slides were very wonderful. The quality was maintained throughout the presentation. Sir was talking less. Sir's experience was talking more. The description demonstrated the mastery over subject. This was a very wonderful class, sir. This was the best way to present this topic. There couldn't have been any better way. Thank you very much, sir.
Great morning with genius people. Thank you, everyone. So let us have a lunch break now. We'll resume our session by 40 p.m. sharp. Okay? Lunch will be served at food court nearby. Kindly enjoy your meals and gather again by
Channel off. Channel off. It's a panel off. It's a panel off. Laptop off. लिंक बंद करायची का बॅनर लावून ठेवा अहो सर हो सर सर लिंक बंद करू का ते बॅनर लावून टाका बॅनर बॅनर लावून तिथं ते तुम्ही हे करा ना काय काय जीएमसी हिंगोली हॅशटॅग जीएमसी हिंगोली टाकलं तरी येतं हा हॅशटॅग जीएमसी हिंगोली हॅशटॅग आणि ते रेकॉर्ड आहे ना कधीही मला बघ हा रेकॉर्ड
खाली गर्दी होणार आहे फिरायला ऑलरेडी चालू झालं. निदान होईल संपत.
आयडी कार्ड कुणाकडे आहे? खाली सर का? कुपनची गरज नाही सर. एक दोन दिवस सर थांबायला तुम्ही राहू द्या राहू द्या.
जाईना रे काय बोलतो खायला.
इकडे बसू.
आपल्या आपल्या फोन मध्ये एवढी का म्हणजे सेव्हिंग पेपर पाहिजे आपण आणि वाटवायला काय आपण आपल्या येतोय पण काय डॉक्टर तिकडे आहे ना त्यामध्ये जर असले तर मोबाईलला लॅपटॉप केली शकते ओपन केलं की आता
अजून मोबाईल मोबाईल दिसणार नाही तू हॅलो हे तर हॉलमध्ये आणि काय हा बोलती साक्षीचा फोन होता नंतर दाखवतो का
मॅडम आम्हाला एक फोटो काढायचा हो. माझा मोबाईल मध्ये तू वा 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 मॅडम वाढायला भरपूर टाकले
लाईट खूप आहे ना मागे त्यामुळे
तुम्ही इथे जॉबला आहात ना
मी जीएमसी चे ईएनडी डिपार्टमेंटची आहे इथे नाही
नांदेड
इथे व्हायचं का एक चष्मा काढून ते ग्लेअर येतो एक काम करा ते बुके ठेवलेले आहेत बुके रिटर्न करा
बरं आमचं आम्ही करतो तुमचं गाव कुठलं आहे काय नाव नारायण मी तुमच्या घरी आलो होतो आता मी सांगतो काय झालं मी थांबायला काही वाटलं की थांबणार आम्ही हो मी तुमच्या घरी आलो होतो तुमच्या पप्पांनी आम्हाला तुमचे पुस्तक डोनेट करतो मग मी आणि आमचे ॲस्ट्रोप्रॉफेसर दोघं तुमच्या घरी आलो चहा घेतला बसलो बराच वेळ मग नंतर पप्पानं तुम्हाला काहीतरी कॉन्टॅक्ट केला कोणाला केला मला माहिती पुण्याला कोण होतं कॉन्टॅक्ट केला म्हणून मला म्हणे तुम्हाला कॉन्टॅक्ट केला मला म्हणे मी नंतर मॅडम आमची लायब्ररी बघायला या ना लई छान आहे
तुम्ही एकदा कधी चुकून पुण्याला किंवा नाशिकला गेले नाशिकची चांगली हॉटेल पुण्याची लायब्ररी औरंगाबादची एमजीएम आणि पुण्याचं डीवाय पाटील
आमची बघा ना
कुठे
दाखवतो इथंच आहे बाजूला आपला लायब्ररीचाच भाग आहे
लायब्ररी ही ना ही वाली बघितली
आपल्याकडे 8,500 बुक आहेत यानंतर इकडला दरवाजा बंद आहे इकडून दरवाजा चालू आहे तुमचं हे नाही कोणी नाही
लाईट दाखवला तोच पावडर नंतर फ्लॉवर आणि आधी लावतो कुठे होते सर तुम्ही नाही मॅडम नाही नेक्स्ट सेशन आहेत ना मॅडम कधी परवा सरांनी मॅडमचं आहे ते चेअरपर्सन नाही तर मग ते नाव होता यांचा
बंद केलं
ब्लॅक सेट चेअरपर्सन असे गेले तिथेच आणि पॅनल डिस्कशन आता
आणि हे याच्यावरती चालतच नसते
नाही नाही सर मी आधी गेलो मला भूक लागलेली होती खूप जास्त
जाऊन आले की नाही
आम्ही फोटो त्याची भूक लागली तर मी झोपे होऊन जाते मी तर माझी क्रांती झाली आता काय किती चेंजेस ते हा पर्सन नाही तो पर्सन नाही आज कोपऱ्यात जाऊन कशाला बसायचं चेअर पर्सन आहे ना सांगायचं ना आता मी चेअर पर्सन आहे थोडं बाजूला
विजिलंट खूप जास्त खूप फ्रिक्वेंटली मला लाईट घेऊन आली
स्टार्टिंगला दोनदा माहित नाही नंतर स्मूथली झालं स्टार्ट वर पुन्हा फोकस ब्रेक आहे
खाली आहे
असं बोलत आजच आहे हो आजच आहे फर्स्ट डेला असतं सेकंड डेला सगळे पळून जातात शर्वेचे फक्त वकीलचा फेसबुक सर का दुसरं कोण